anything in front of them to say this is what you're going to have to defend it all. Do you anticipate that to be taken up in his report today?
It may be. I mean, the governor and the office of the governor have raised due process concerns. Those are unfounded. He's receiving much more process than the subject of a grand jury investigation, or even when an Alabama citizen is first charged with a crime. This has been going on for more than a year. He's had an ample opportunity to participate. We've asked for sworn testimony under oath from the governor, which he has refused. So the notion that there's been a lack of process or an inability to participate is just not justified by the facts.
So that would be your response to the judge if he issued something along those lines. That's how you would say this is not an issue.
Well, it is not an issue substantively. Again, we believe that this is a separation of powers issue where the courts really don't have a role with regard to a coordinate branch of government, but we'll have to see what the judge does.
Was it a concern today? Everyone seemed to be flying by the seat of their pants, for lack of a better term.
Well, in an emergency request for relief situation, especially when one only finds out about it at 8 o'clock in the morning, one has to go forward as best one can.
The judge said one of his concerns, and you can answer this to her, not me down here, but the judge says one of his concerns, was that this is a 3,000-page report and it's coming out today, possibly a chance to respond on Tuesday. Is that too quick to make that response?
Again, I think that the governor and the governor's council have had ample opportunities to understand and participate in the process. And so the investigation goes forward, and like the subject of any investigation, its results may be either a surprise or unwanted, but that's just part of the process.
Is time still on your side? Do you think this can all be accomplished before the legislature ends in 15, I think, legislative days?
Well, I serve the pleasure of the committee, and we're going to be ready to support them in whatever way they want to, including moving forward with the hearing.
Can you release the report before the judge makes a decision, or do you have to wait?
We'll have to take some counsel on that and see what the most appropriate thing is, but he clearly indicated that his inclination was not to try to block the report, which would be a prior restraint on the speech, which is generally not favored.
So you think you'll release it?
My anticipation will be that we would release it and again on the same time frame.
Would that be at noon, or would it be just before 5 o'clock?
It won't be at noon, and so it'll be afternoon.
But I mean, earlier in the afternoon rather than later, or do you know it was?
I don't know.
So will you release it before you get clearance from the judge, or do you think you've already got clearance from the judge to do that?
He clearly indicated where he was leaning, but you know, we will reflect, and we may want to make sure that that's where he's going. But he clearly indicated that he understood the need for prompt action, and that he's going to rule pretty quickly.
Again, can you explain the complication? We're working with 3 branches of government and jurisdiction, and really what they can do here. Anyone should do here.
Well, the Constitution divides state government, just like federal government, into 3 divisions: the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. Each has its constitutional duties. Each within its own spheres has the power to carry out those duties. Impeachment in Alabama is committed wholly, solely, and absolutely to the House of Representatives, just as the Senate has the power to try the impeached officer. And when another branch of government, for example the judiciary, decides to dictate to the sister branch what it can and cannot do in fulfilling its constitutional duties, you have what's called a separation of powers problem, and that's a significant problem for free government.
It's a slowdown tactic?
A lot of this is clearly trying to burn the clock. There's no doubt about that.
The governor said this morning that the report contains embarrassing details. Can you speak to those?
Embarrassing is in the eye of the beholder. We try to be very factual and deliberate in what we've done, and the reader can draw his or her own conclusion.
For those who came late, can you verify this is a 3,000-page report? Is that correct?
I think that number came from the narrative plus exhibits. So if you look at the whole box, so to speak, you probably get 2,000 or 3,000 pages.
The narrative is how long?
It's about 100 pages.
Can you reiterate all that's included in the report as far as?
There is a factual narrative. There is a discussion about due process, this very issue we're talking about. There is a discussion about the nature of impeachment and the impeachment process, and there's also factual background as to what actually happened. That is, people interviewed, subpoenas issued, and that sort of thing.
How did you decide what to put in the report and what not to put in the report?
We tried to be as complete as possible, so basically everything we did is in the report.
And what's the next step if the judge does delay, defense of it, or what's the next step if it's released?
Again, it would depend on the exact scope and nature of the order, but as he said, if the chances of one side or another probably taking an immediate appeal to the Supreme Court is I would think, pretty high.
Mr. Garber has taken some shots at some of the things he believes might be in there and the way y'all have gathered the information. Are you comfortable with everything that's in there and the way y'all gone about this?
Absolutely. We've been at this except for the time that we were sort of on ice, for almost a year. And we have offered the governor every opportunity to participate, to produce documents, to identify witnesses that he thought was important, and to speak truthfully under oath. And he has either declined to do those things or has obstructed our efforts. And given the process we have, where his lawyer can examine witnesses that are called, put in exhibits, make opening statements, and so forth, we feel very comfortable that he has been offered a maximum amount of process.
Can you tell us how
How did they
many?
obstruct that?
Refusing to produce documents, which are critical in a case like this, by refusing to comply with subpoenas, by refusing to make the governor and senior staff available for testimony under oath, by their associates, affiliates, for example, Mr. and Ms. Mason and the companies they own, refusing to comply with subpoenas, refusing to meet with us, be interviewed, or to be testified, or to testify under oath.
Garber said the emergency motion filed last week just when ignored, there was no comment from the committee. You have any comment on that?
I think I would reiterate what Chairman Jones said at the time, which was this is a committee, not a courtroom. Again, going back to separation of powers, the three branches have different functions. This is an impeachment investigation. The committee is going to make a recommendation to the full House.
Can you tell us how many subpoenas you sent out and then how many people actually showed up and you interviewed?
And you will see all of that shortly.
Still intending to finish this by the end of the session?
Whatever the committee wants to do, but clearly there's been an expressed desire publicly to go ahead and move it forward with some real expedition.
You believe the judge will move quickly today on his decision? I mean, that's what you're saying?